Hey folks, welcome back to another review with yours truly, Sam Healey. Today we're taking a look at MourneQuest. This is a game for 1 to 4 players for ages, let's see, what is it, 14 and up, and it plays for about an hour. This is a cooperative game where each of the players take on different characters in a popular book series in Ireland where we're trying to stop the Shimnivor from entering the world and wreaking havoc with his minions and so forth and so on. So we're basically trying to gather charms, go to these different portals, shut them down so that his minions can't come in, and then finally defeat the Shimnivor and win the game. If that doesn't happen, you've lost. So let's get down to the table. I'll show you how it works, and we'll come back with some final thoughts in just a few moments. So as we get started with a sample hero phase, we're going to say that Jack goes first, and he's simply going to use movement, and that will take one action to move over here. Then he'll use another action to pick up a leaf charm and add it to his backpack. And then he'll spend his last action to move down here to the Northwest Nexus point. And then he has the opportunity of doing a free bonus action of simply drawing a face down equipment card. Now, if he had the extra action, he could pay the extra action to take this and use it since it's face up. But since he doesn't have any actions left, he'll use the free action of adding Neron's Unbreakable Rope to his courage. And he does that by simply slipping it under his player board. And now the 6 is added to his innate 4, making his courage ability a 10 now. But that's the end of his turn. He's going to click the moon marker once here and then roll the compass die. And the western dial is clicked once. So the Murrow over here is clicked to the 2 position. And now he's just a little bit closer to entering our world. Baith is going to be next, and so she's going to have a very similar turn where she's going to spend one action to move over here, and that allows her to pick up a lumber charm and add it to her backpack. And then she's going to spend her third action to move down here to a nexus point, and again use that free action to up her abilities. But now this deck has 4 hag cards in it, and once they are drawn and resolved, they're out of the game completely. So they'll only come up once during the game, but this one says the Donor Tour. Walking around in circles is such a waste of time and effort, but that is what the Donor Detour is. To the unwitting, it looks like a shortcut, but anyone who takes the easy way out will find themselves walking on this spellbound path for an eternity. So it says here, discard this card and draw the top card from the equipment deck to your hand. Your hand is represented down here, and what usually happens is that when you draw an equipment card, if it is more than what you already have, you can replace it. But if you draw it and it's less than what you already have, you can discard it to the surplus pile. Well, this card would bypass that ability of discarding it, and it would replace whatever card you have there with the new card, whatever it may be, even if it's worse. So this is not bad to get at the beginning of the game, but it could be worse later on in the game. But that's discarded, and she draws a new card, and it is a 7, the Obsidian Stone. So that makes her magic ability a 12 now instead of just a 5. And then she will also click the moon marker here once, and then roll the die, and it's blank, which means that nothing happens. We don't have to turn any of these dials, and we don't have to add one of these compass tiles to the center of the board. Ire is next, and he is going to do something different. He's going to move up here to this artifacts place where the pot of gold is, and he is going to take one of these cards. Now, these cards could be good, or they could be bad or not as good, generally speaking. So he's going to take and turn it over, and this says the Shroud of Silence. It says, your time in the Valley of Silence taught you a lot about being quiet. Avoid combat with any nightmare and sneak past. So you basically keep this card and until you need to use it, and so you just keep that in front of you, and you're able to use that later on. So that is one action. Picking up a magical pot and drawing a relic card is actually a free action, so that didn't cost him anything. So he's going to, for his second action, move down here for a charm and pick up one of those stone charms and put it in his backpack. And that will have been his third action. And now he clicks this one more time, rolls the compass die, and again, it's nothing, so nothing happens there. And now we come over to Phineas Brogan's turn. He is going to do something very similar where he's going to come here for free, pick up this, and draw a relic card. And this one says, Bannon's Banjo. If defeated by a Bogbane, it will ignore any charms you are carrying and instead steal the banjo. So if you are attacking one of these Bogbanes and they defeat you, some of them will say that they are going to steal one of the charms in your backpack. They'll steal this instead. So that's a good little protection to have as well. That being a free action, just like with Ayer's turn, it was one to move here, free action of drawing that artifact. Second action will be down here to draw a gold and put it in his backpack. And the third action is the actual drawing of it. So now he will click the moon marker and roll the compass die. And now the north dial is rotated once, and that's the end of his turn. And now with the hero phase being completed, where all 4 of the heroes have used all 3 of their actions, we go to the enemy phase. We check to see if there are any enemies on the board. They will conduct their movement. They will also, any nightmare evil powers will take effect if they're on the board. And then enemies will attack. So enemies attack when they are moved. Like, for example, if this guy was here and he moved to where Ayer was, then on his enemy's attack phase, they would attack. But generally speaking, they don't attack unless they are on the same space as a hero. But now what we do is, starting with the northeast point here, we'll draw tiles for all of the nexus points that don't have anybody standing on them, including heroes, or don't have tiles that are already associated with that nexus point. So starting with the northeast, Baith is over here, so we don't need to draw for her. The southeast nexus point, however, we do need to draw an encounter tile. And so we'll draw this one here, and this is a movement tile. Now what this movement tile will do is that any Bogbanes or Nightmares that are out on the board, they all move 1 step. There are some that have 2 arrows here, and that means they'll move 2 steps. But that is the tile for that one. We come over to the southwest, and that one needs a tile as well. And this means that one Bogbane, right now it's just a snipe, being a level 1, will come out here on this one. And all of these different Bogbanes have, at the green check mark on above, the reward for defeating it. And then if it attacks you and you don't fend it off, at the bottom there, it's -1 charm if you get defeated by it. So we come over here to the northwest nexus point, and Jack is still there. So no tile is drawn for that space either. And so now this one comes and is discarded. This one will stay out just so that we can remember what this guy is going to reward you if you defeat him. And that's the end of the enemy phase. Now, before we get into combat, a couple of other things that you can do on your turn that we didn't go over is you can, first of all, deposit charms at one of these dials. Other things that you can do is you can pass an equipment card to another hero that's on the same space as you. You can also exchange charms at a trading post. Trading posts are like this right here and like this one right down here. So you can exchange charms at trading posts, basically 2 for 1. And you can also exchange to get artifact cards at exchange trading posts as well. And then you can also, and this is what we'll go over now, attack a Bogbane or a Nightmare if you are on the same location. Now for combat, we're going to go ahead and say that Phineas Brogan is going to come down here and attack this snipe that's down there. So he would have to, first of all, on his turn, use 1 move to come down to the nexus point, and then a second action point to actually initiate combat with him. Now, as we can see, the snipe has certain abilities down here that with each different kind of moon. So while you're attacking, you have to look at where the moon is. If it's on the green spot, you'll use the new moon line. If it's on one of these waxing or waning moon spots, then you'll use the center line. And then if it's on one of the red or blood moon spots, you'll have to use that final row down there to determine what number you're trying to either meet or exceed in order to defeat this person in combat. If you're attacking a bog bean, you can choose courage, strength, or magic. But if the bog bean is attacking you, it uses the strongest style of attack in whatever row, either it's new moon, waxing, or blood moon kind. So let's just say that we're on a new moon phase here. So the snipe is going to be attacked by Phineas Brogan using whichever one he desires. So he's going to use magic because he has a magic ability of 7. And that basically means that the only thing that could really hurt him is if he rolls a blank face of the combat die, which is right here. Now, if he rolls the dandelion side, it's an automatic win. So he rolls, and he got the dandelion, so it's an automatic win. And what will happen here is Phineas Brogan will be able to take a leaf charm and add it to his backpack that he got for defeating this bogbane. And then this is done away with. Now, at the beginning of the game, you're just going to be rolling one of these combat dice. But after you defeat your first or shut down the first nightmare dial, you'll be able to take a green die and add it to your pool like such. And then whenever you're attacking, you can use both of these dice. When you would defeat in combat or close your second nightmare dial, you're able to add the yellow die. And it has a 5 capability on it, but it also does have that failure too. And then after you defeat your third nightmare in either combat or shutting down its dial, you're able to add a red die, which is pretty cool. This face doubles the faces of all the other dice. So if I rolled something like this, it would be 10, 14 added to whatever my strength in that fighting style would be. But once you add that 4th die, you have to pick which 3 you're going to roll in combat. And that is generally how you're going to be playing MourneQuest, in that round-based atmosphere of a hero phase where all heroes are taking all 3 of their actions, and then the enemy phase where you go through that scripted enemy movement, nightmare, evil powers, enemies attack, and then draw encounter tiles, and you continue doing that process. Now, once this moon makes it all the way around back here for the first time, you're going to add a compass die to your roll. So after one trip around the cycle, you're actually going to be activating up to 2 of these per turn. So that will ratchet up the difficulty a little bit. Once the moon comes back around for its second time to the top of the moon, that's when the Shimnivore comes onto the board, and the game changes a little bit, whereas each of the heroes will still have their turns, but he will try to attack in between each of the different hero moves. And that really ratchets it up as well. What is he going to do? Well, he's simply going to roll the die, and that will be the place that he attacks. If there is a person standing here on this wall spot, he will attack the person. But if he doesn't have anybody to attack, he'll roll this die. And as long as it is not a blank symbol or a dandelion symbol, he will basically attack that area and damage the wall. If he's able to do that 2 times before we have defeated all of his abilities twice each, then he will win the game. A second token will come out, and then he is able to come out into the world, and we have lost. So that's about that for MourneQuest from BackSpindle Games. designed by David Brashaw and Leonard Boyd. Now, I of course didn't go over every little bit of minutia in the game, and there's a bit of it in there because there's certain specific things that have to be added at certain points, and those kinds of things are there. But I just wanted to give you a general feel of how the game plays and how cooperative it really is. So with that having been said, let's talk about a couple things before we get to my pros and cons. First of all, I've never read any of these books. I've never even seen these books in a store or anything like that, so I have no clue how much this feels or does not feel like the actual books. However, what we did surmise as we were playtesting the game, I had a number of people say, this feels like Stranger Things, where we're trying to keep the bad guy from entering our world, and we're having to battle different things that are going on and trying to break in, and it had that Stranger Things vibe to it. So while I'm not savvy on this particular theme, it does have a very captivating mechanical gameplay. My first pro is how easily and how quickly the game flowed. There was not a whole lot of downtime because turns were so fast. You only have 3 actions to do things in the board, and those actions go very quickly. Usually an action is simply taking a charm or rolling some dice in a very short combat. Did I get enough? Did I get the number that I needed to meet or exceed, or did I not? There isn't a whole lot of mitigation. However, I guess the dice mitigation comes with getting the equipment cards and so forth and so on. So each of the different turns went very quickly, which translated to almost no downtime, or at least a negligible amount of downtime, which is a good thing, especially for a cooperative game. My second pro was how combat was handled, because sometimes games can really convolute a combat situation, and that kind of sucks some of the fun out of it. With combat here, it's a very straight up die roll. Sometimes some of the artifact cards will give you the ability to re-roll dice that you've missed with, or so forth and so on, or something to that effect. So there is a little bit of mitigation there with the dice in combat, but I wouldn't rely upon it. But having said that, I like how clean and set forth and streamlined the combat process wasn't convoluted, and it didn't take away from the overall feel of the game. So I liked that. It didn't try to showcase itself. It was very much, this is just something that I have to do at some point during my turn so that I can take care of this guy and kind of send him away. My third pro for the game are the variable player powers that each of the different characters have. And I also like the fact that you're restricted to only 3 uses of those special abilities throughout the course of the game. Sometimes variable player powers, especially if they're asymmetric, they can be overpowering, or at least overshadowing other aspects of the game, and that usually takes away from the thematic inclusion of everything. With this and the way it works, you have to be very judicial on when you're going to use that special ability. It's a powerful ability, and it will really help you out in a number of different times or a number of different situations on the board, but you only have 3 uses of it. So you do have to be a little bit more judicious there, and I like that. I think it helps with the balance of the game. And my final pro of the game is that it is a difficult game. Now, I say that having not lost yet. But every single time I've won, it has been a nail-biting experience. It could have gone south at any point in time, and I like games like that because you always have that hope of winning. There are a lot of cooperative games that I've played, and again, I don't want to name any of them specifically, but there are a lot of cooperative games that I've played that are just simply too hard, and they feel too hard. It's like you get to a certain point and you're like, yeah, we're not going to win. There's no way we're going to win. It's done. It's hung up. We're done. We're, stick a fork in us, whatever you want to say. We are just not going to win. This game never felt like that. It always felt like, okay, things are not looking good, but we can do this and we can do that and we can go over here and do this. And, oh, I've got this special ability. I'll use it right now to help you get over there. And it always felt like there was hope. And I like it when cooperative games do that. I don't necessarily care how hard of a game you've created. I just want hope in order to make me want to continue playing the game, because if I don't feel like I have hope, why? I'm just going to, we're done. Now, as far as cons are concerned for the game, the rulebook was a little bit convoluted. And I'm not saying that it was a bad rulebook. It just wasn't laid out in such a way that fostered me understanding it easier. There was just information all over the place, and sometimes the same information was in two different spaces, and so it just made it a little bit more difficult to understand how to play the game. Now, with that having been said, I didn't have a problem understanding the game. I had problems more hunting information down afterwards while we're playing the game. You know, those little tiny bits of minutia that you just kind of forget after you've already read the rules. Going back and finding, oh yeah, that's a good question. What does the rule book say? Finding stuff after the fact was the difficult part, and that's why this is a con for me. Because it definitely has a lot of bits of minutia in there that you're probably not going to remember unless you've just got an iron trap for a mine. Or steel trap. Why did I say iron? Well, iron, steel, anyway. You get what I'm saying. So it wasn't a bad or poorly written rule book. It just, it was not laid out well, which made hunting for those little small answers more difficult. So that's about that for MourneQuest. There was a whole lot of good that I really liked about the game, and there wasn't a whole lot of bad. I just only had one con for this one, and so because of that, I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10. I completely approve this game as a cooperative game. The only reason that it's probably not higher than that is simply because I know virtually nothing about this theme. I've never seen the books or much less read them, so I don't know if it's a good series or not. Maybe other people who have watched, who are watching, can maybe comment on that down in the comment section below, but I really don't know anything about this. That's why I'm just pretty much putting it at an 8. I really did enjoy this game a lot. I like cooperative games, and I also like the fact that this is a hopeful cooperative game, not one that just kind of smacks you down and leaves you in desperation, basically. So 8 out of 10 for me. I really did enjoy the game. I think it, if you are savvy on the theme, the books that it is based upon, I think you'll enjoy it even that much more. But as it stands, 8 out of 10 is a pretty good rating from me. So there you have it, 8 out of 10 for MourneQuest. Thank you for joining me. I certainly appreciate it. We'll see you guys and gals on the flip side. Take care now.
Thanks so much for watching another Dice Tower video. If you enjoy our videos, subscribe to the channel for more fun, comprehensive board game coverage. Also, consider joining us at one of our events. Come to Dice Tower Retreat, a small, intimate gathering where gaming is king. Join us for Dice Tower Cruise, the largest board game cruise. Attend Dice Tower West in Las Vegas for gaming fun on the West Coast, or Dice Tower East in Orlando in sunny Florida. Dice Tower Conventions, the friendliest gaming conventions on Earth. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.